Hello and welcome to Rice Ball Conflict, anime and manga podcast without recency bias. This week, I brought in another member from the Digimon Conflict crew. Hi, Zeta.
I
So Zeta's our resident Mecha fanatic. I've watched a decent amount of Mecha myself. Not necessarily Gundam, but I've watched a lot of Mecha outside of Gundam with some Gundam stuff, and you know more about Gundam than anyone I know that hasn't been toxic. So it's gonna be a fun conversation because I can't ever talk with like Gundam people about like what I want to watch without them kind of
judging.
judging which ones I have watched and which ones I've enjoyed because apparently there's multiple timelines. I don't know which timelines I've watched. I just know which ones I've liked, and uh, generally, of any of the Mecha series that I've watched, because I've watched more Mecha series that aren't Gundam than that are. But if there's a Mecha series that I haven't liked, it's generally been a Gundam series. So,
I mean, it's honestly like a hit or miss depending on which ones you've watched.
mhm.
Like some are really good, others are how the fuck did this get past like how the fuck did this get past Bandai?
Yeah, I my whole. Oh God, what did you just send me?
I sent you the timeline.
Oh my God. Uh, yeah, for like toxic Gundam fandoms though, like for me, it like all started with the Toonami generation and everyone worshipping Wing's
hmm
footsteps, and I'm like, I watched Wing, I hated it. I rewatched Wing Ring, I still hate it. Like I could never
And
get
and
into it.
that's honestly fair
Mm-hmm.
because well, I do like Wing because it does go on the politics side of it. It's also it's really fucking bone drying fucking bad in a lot of places.
Yeah, like I
Like it
tried.
has its moments. It has its moments, but there's not enough of those moments to redeem it.
There, there's a lot to redeem because my god is the main character insufferable and so is the main female love
Oh,
interest
you mean
protagonist whatever.
Hero and Relina Peacecraft?
Yes,
Oh boy.
there was this
Mister, I'll
whole
kill you.
that whole scene where she hands him a letter and he rips it and then says I'm kill you, and I'm like, that's just how I envision a lot of that super edge lord community of the anime fandom in like early 2000s. They're like, oh, that's the coolest thing ever, I want to be just like Hero. Like i
So
I hated it so
with
much.
that, I understood why he had to kill her because literally he crash landed. His whole mission was supposed to be secret, and this dumb bitch actually just comes across him on the beach. It's like, fuck, now I gotta kill this one.
Yeah, but it's done in such a
It
melodramatic
is.
way.
It really is.
um
Like,
yeah, it
out
was
of all the
rough.
alternate timelines, Wing's probably one of the weakest ones because of its story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Looking at the timeline right now, Gundam X, G Gundam, C, Double O, Iron Blood Orphans, Age, Mercury, all of those have really good cohesive storylines that aren't
you
really
just
trifling or
you just admit
drag.
Seed has a cohesive storyline, so you just said
Look, I
something good
don't.
about Seed.
I look. I like Seed's plot and points. I like their mech designs and I like their music. The only thing I don't like is that Kira cheats death 3 times.
Okay, hold on, hold
That
on, hold on,
that's the only thing.
hold on. Because you want to say he cheats death 3 times, but at least he didn't cheat death in a way of like, yeah, I died, but I have a identical twin that is just gonna take my place, so I cheat death still.
I hated that in Double O. Okay, I love Double O because it's the better Gundam Wing,
I
but at the
agree.
same time, I hate it because they kill one character to bring on his doofy twin who can't aim. His
Yeah.
fucking brother's an expert sniper. This motherfucker has all the guns in the world and he can't hit his target.
They replaced him with a stormtrooper. It was great.
Oh, it's the Clone Wars all over again.
And so Seed, I will still say, is probably my favorite Gundam I've watched to date.
That's
Um,
fine.
yeah, I loved it. I love the
Seed.
stories. I love the characters. I loved like all the melodrama it had. I hated Flay All Star. I wanted her to die. I was very happy when she did. Spoilers, by the way, I
So,
guess. But
so the reason a lot of people like Seed is because it's, from what I understand, they were trying to recreate the original Gundam in a
mhm.
newer age. And they did. They did it good. Um, the only complaint I really have with Seed currently is that they need to stop milking it.
I'm fine with it. I get more Lacus Klein. I'm happy.
Because we've got Seed Astray, we got Seed Destiny, we got Seed Stargazer, now we've got Seed Freedom. I forget what the new movie's name is, Freedom something or other.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm glad the fan base for that series is getting their fucking feed for their stuff. It's just there is so much side stories. Every time I play it like a Gundam game and I see Seed, my heart sinks because like it's got some of the most stuff. Like I'm starting to see that it has more stuff than the UC timeline.
Oh my god. I mean, wasn't Seed also and I could be very much wrong on this, but I remember reading in like a Anime Insider article about it. Like Seed was Bandai's way of trying to cater to, or their first attempt to try and cater to non Gundam fans by exploring a different art style that they're used to using. So they wanted to do like the
Yeah.
pretty boy aspect that like drew in people like that were fans of Full Metal Alchemist and stuff that was popular at the time,
Yeah.
and it
Because
works.
they went with I think they went with Clamp if I remember right.
No, I don't think it was Clamp.
Wasn't
Because
was
Clamp
it the
has a
arts?
very distinctive art style.
Let's see.
Uh,
Animation.
how far is there's Gundam Seed. Who did Sunrise? Nozumi Bandai.
Was it Sunrise that did it?
Yeah, Sunrise.
Let's see. Directed, Sunrise, released. Huh. I didn't think Sunrise did that art style.
Yep. But
I thought that was a Clamp art style to be honest with you.
oh no, they would look far more like Code Geass characters.
Yeah.
I
I'm thinking of a different thing.
Yeah, I'm a
Yeah,
huge Clamp fanatic, so I'm like that's definitely not their
I
art
know
style
I
there.
know I know what it is now. So one of the other mecha animes that I have pulled up, Crosshand,
Oh
is
yeah.
is made by Clamp,
Mm-hmm.
and they're referencing heavily on seed designs because I believe the mecha creator or the character creator is the same dude for Seed.
Okay, that makes sense. Um,
Um,
yeah, that was like the first. It's not the first Gundam I enjoyed watching, but it's the first one that was like, I'm buying this and I'm going to watch it from beginning to end because I was watching most of the stuff on Toonami at the time or like on TV, and prior to Seed, it was either Gundam Wing or it was G Gundam, which G Gundam was great. I don't own it like I do Seed and Seed Destiny, but I loved it. It was great.
I'm
Very
still having a
quotable.
chuckle. I'm still having a chuckle that the anniversary they're announcing something for G Gundam, and it was just I think HD Blu-rays for the series.
Oh, I'll take it though.
So you'll be able to get those Blu-rays.
Hmm.
I loved G Gundam because it had a lot of like funny shit going on in it. It was blatantly racist, but it had its own charm.
It it was so quotable. It was so campy. It was
It
so
was
easily recognizable.
it's one of the only Gundam that actually delves into the super robot genre
Hmm.
because a majority of all the Gundam series aside from like the build series, almost everything is real robot. It's not based on super robots like Gurren Lagann and Getter Robo and everything.
Right. No, it was a lot of fun. I remember loving it, and then when people made me watch Wing, and I hated Wing, and they're like, how would you like lesser Wing as in G Gundam, but you can't actually enjoy Wing? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I have standards, and Wing is below my standards. Um, but
That
I
actually makes my head hurt.
going to
Somebody
conventions was
actually saying
crazy.
lesser wing Gundam
Yeah,
just makes my brain hurt because they're not
I
even
mean,
associated.
because those were the only Toonami ones at the time, and like this was kind of pre-internet era, I guess, because internet was
Yeah.
around but not as easily accessible. So most of the people I went to school with didn't have streaming services. So G Gundam and Wing were kind of the only ones that aired on TV at the time. Like there were definitely, I think that there was something else that aired, but it wasn't on Toonami. It was like probably a sci-fi thing or something.
So I was around the time I got into Gundam around the same time you did.
Okay.
It was Wing, then we got G Gundam,
Hmm.
and then they actually started airing the original Universal Century stuff. So
Oh
they aired
yeah,
the
yeah.
original Gundam series, and then they started streaming off of that and going with 0080. Then they went into Stardust Memory. I don't think they ever got to the Zeta or Double Zeta Gundam. They kind of stopped at Stardust
Hmm.
because I think they lost the rights to um, air it in the US at that point, or Toonami went under temporarily.
That was definitely way before Toonami went under, because even a lot of the contracts that Toonami had ended up going over either to Adult Swim or going to
Yeah,
Maguzi.
yeah, because
So
Adult Swim started streaming Seed and shit at that point.
yeah, so I mean, which honestly kind of makes more sense for Seed to be on Adult Swim, in
Yeah,
my opinion, because they actually bang in that show multiple times. But
that and they show a lot. Seed covers death a lot too.
it
There's a lot of people who
does,
die in it.
yeah, that's fair. But yeah, so I can see Bandai being stingy and being like, "Oh, we don't want to subsidize our contract to this other company when we already gave it to Toonami, so no, we're not renewing it." Or
Yeah,
uh, I don't know. I don't know what the viewing numbers would have been for Gundam back then either. So I knew some people that watched it, but I again didn't interact with them because they didn't like the ones that I liked. So they just kind of shit on me for liking the ones I liked.
and that's another thing too. Sadly, the Gundam fan base is still pretty toxic.
Hmm.
I'm part of like the bigger like Twitter sphere version of it right now. There's a lot of positivity now, but there's still a lot of fucking people who shit on others for the different series that they like. Like if you liked Wing or if you like G Gundam or Turn A. There's even Turn A haters and shit now. It's like,
I couldn't believe that. So I actually watched Turn Gundam.
yeah.
It was one that was recommended to me. They let me borrow their box set. I watched all of it. And I was like, cool, this is an older Gundam. Maybe I can talk to these Gundam people again. And then I immediately got shat on again. I'm like,
Hmm.
I can't win. I'm over this.
So, personally, I'm not a fan of the mech designs in Turn A. I like the story and I like a lot of the concepts that they pull out with it. I'm just not a fan of the mustache.
I love the mustache. As someone that hates facial hair, I love the mustache Gundam. I was so sold on that. I thought it was so goofy. I enjoyed it. It kind of reminded me of like a G Gundam design in a way, which is probably why I
That
liked it.
that might have been why I didn't like it is because I'm so used to the typical Gundam designs because I watched Turn A after a lot of other series.
Hmm.
So seeing the fucking slap in the face with the different designs that they put out,
Uh huh.
it's like on one hand I like some bits of the designs, on the other hand it's like the hell is wrong with you?
That's fair. Um, it was also
Like
recommended to me by somebody saying, "Hey, the main dude cross dresses halfway through the series," and I was like, "Oh, I'm sold." Okay.
yeah, that was the other thing that kind of fucked with me too because the main character, like I kept getting confused on if if it was a dude or a girl.
Doesn't matter. Would still smash.
Yeah, and the funny thing, if I remember right, they were a black protagonist, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think they're one of the very few like people of color main characters that's been in the Gundam series. There's very few
I mean,
representative,
to be fair, there's very few main character, person of colors, main characters in anime in general. Like
and it
you'll,
sucks.
yeah. So I never even like considered it actually initially until you just brought it up that they would probably be black, but it's like I just always thought of them like darker skin, but yeah, they would be
Yeah,
like even the hairstyle and everything.
because looking at the timeline, a majority of anybody of color in any of the Gundam series is normally a either a crucial supporting character or there's somebody who gets killed off early on. There's not many that actually get to sit in the protagonist seat. I think
Right,
Soren's one of the very first ones, and it's a nice change of pace.
right.
Is that they fleshed out Soren's character so fucking good.
He was a really good main character, and like I think that's what I'm drawn to more than anything in the Gundam series. Is like I have to like the main characters,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, like with Wing, I didn't like it, and Zeta Gundam, I didn't really care for the main character in that one either. But
Camille doesn't. So in Zeta Gundam, Camille is really hard to like in the beginning, but he
mhm,
gets better midway through the series.
right,
He's one of those ones where he's really hard to look at first, but he gets better in time.
right. Granted, I did like Double O a lot, and I
Mhm.
can't say whether or not I like Setsuna. I don't
Yeah,
hate
so
him, but I don't.
he's a special boy.
He is a Gundam. That
Oh,
is all.
you know, no, we were talking about people of color. He's also a person of color who's a main character
He
because
is.
he's from the Middle East.
He is, but they made him very light skinned, so it's very like,
They did at the beginning, but they
yeah,
darkened his skin tone in the second season, which
they
I'm
did.
glad.
But yeah, like
They made him more accurate.
lore specific, he is. It's just when you look at his character design, you're like, that's
Yeah,
just a normal anime
you
protagonist.
yeah, you wouldn't know it by looking at him from like first season.
Yeah. Kudos for Gundam getting into inclusivity, even before like it was a big deal.
I think in the build series too, they make a lot of different countries more prominent.
Mm-hmm. That's good though.
But
I mean, granted, didn't Orphan Iron Blooded Orphans also have a well? I guess it's technically a side character, not main character,
yeah,
but
he was a supporting character, but he was a very core mechanic character. He was the
yeah,
one. He was basically the dad to all the kids, and I loved
right.
him.
With his gravity defying bangs.
Yeah, the. It's a love hate with him because I love him for what they did with his character. I felt like his design. I feel like his design was very generic looking,
I think
stereotyped. I guess is the word
I
for
think
it.
I can like look at him and recognize immediately for
Oh
me
yeah.
like main character of Orphan was probably the more generic one.
Yeah.
Granted, I have a deep seated hatred for him by the end of the series because yeah, I liked Iron Blooded Orphan, but there is just one scene that makes it where like it's not even my top three anymore. Like if that one scene did not happen,
You
I
mean the sex in Barbados?
man, why they gotta do that? It was so awkward, man.
You consented and you consented, but did Barbados consent?
I'm just like we're sitting here having this conversation. I'm watching this episode, and the childhood friend that's had a crush on him is just like, yeah, let's both have his babies, and then the other girls are like, yeah, sure, and I'm like, we're not really going here, are we? This isn't actually happening, and then it pans away, and you don't really know what happens, and then it fast to the forward. I'm also sorry, spoilers for Iron Blooded Orphans for anyone that has not watched that and is listening to this rant right now. But it pans away to the end, and then you see babies, and you're like, oh god, they actually did it. Because like he can't leave the Gundam, like he's actually like hardwired
Yeah.
in at that point, so he can't. No, I'm good.
Technically, at this point, Mikazuki has no use of his right side of his body, so literally he is crippled. He cannot live outside of Barbados.
Yeah,
Like
Yeah.
he can live. It's just that you can't move without being over Orga's shoulder.
That also probably means most the girls both did most of the work.
Yeah. Actually, technically, Atra was in Barbados, so he had full motion of his body. So maybe she didn't have to do all the work.
I don't like it. Makes Liz.
But on the subject of little Mikazuki and and his antics, I'll say this. And while I love Iron-Blooded Orphans, it's probably got some of the best battles and some of the best like animation for some things. I absolutely hate Mikazuki because he has no emotion and no development as a character.
Yeah, the story was really good. I liked how they were all like child soldiers and how they branched out of that, how they built that
Exactly.
all up. It was so well done, and I did enjoy most of the characters in it.
All the
I
cast is amazing. Mikazuki has no fucking character whatsoever in comparison to everybody else. Orga's got character. Fucking the blonde dude who drives the railgun Gundam, he has fucking character. Everybody in the ship has character. Mikazuki, it vacuum sealed out of his ass.
Yeah, it's like, hey, how do we make Setsuna but worse?
It's honestly that's what it is. It's just Setsuna, but if he had no love for anything, not even Gundam.
Yeah, it was. Again, I really liked it. I can't
Like
look at that series fondly without being traumatized.
I love IBO. I love it to a fucking fault.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't care for Mikazuki.
Yeah. It is like
And
one of the two I recommend to people who are like, yeah,
yeah,
I don't like Mecha series, I don't like Gundam, and I'm like, well, what Gundams have you seen? And they're like, oh, I saw Wing and I saw a little bit of this one, and I'm like,
yeah.
oh, watch Iron Blooded
That,
Orphans or watch Double O. Like,
that is a common problem with people wanting to get into Gundam. They don't know where to start, so
mhm.
they'll watch a really shitty series like Wing, where the story is just like all politics and everything,
Yep.
and they'll immediately fall out of love and think that the entire series is shit like that. No, like if you start with any of the AU series, Seed, Double O, Iron Blooded Orphans, Gundam X, G Gundam, any of those are excellent entries in there if you want to have a good time.
I agree.
If
Like,
if you want to delve into like more story bits, yes, Wing is good. Same goes with Witch from Mercury. If you're wanting like the backstory more than the actual fights and everything.
oh god, Witch from Mercury.
I will say, yeah, it has its flaws, but it does have good core story points too.
We're just back on the topic of like I hate the main character.
I mean, you're fine for that. I mean, Suletta's like, I love her because she's innocent, but at the same time, she's fucking on the level of Mikazuki and Setsuno with brain pan level of intelligence.
Let me just murder somebody in front of the girl that I like, and then be like, hey, everything's fine.
I just love that that's the end of the first half of the series. It's like just tomato splat, and then it's
Oh my
an arm
god.
just flies by your head. It's like, oh, are we ending it on that? Okay.
I didn't even catch that that would be the end of the series because I watched it all after it was done, so I binge
Yeah,
watched it. Oh
so I
wow.
watched it from the very start of the first season, and that was the ending for the first half. And I had to wait months for the next half to come out. So we were constantly left at the boot hills, like, how are these two gonna reconcile with each other and everything? And it's like I'm sitting here like, did Miorine think that mobile suits were just cuddle toys this entire time? Of course they're gonna be used for murder.
Man, I
You're just seeing it firsthand.
yeah. It was such an odd watch for me because like I like Mecha series. I like most Gundam series.
Hmm.
But this one was like it didn't really feel like a mecha series, which I guess is why it got as popular as it did. It
It's more of a slice of life.
yeah, because I did end up watching it mostly for the characters, not the main character, and
Hmm.
not even the main two characters, because I don't really care for the princess bitch that much either. It,
Yeah, Miorine's not that great.
um, But like the home dude that had the pink hair, that had the daddy issues,
Gil,
like
Gil, yeah.
yeah, his whole storyline was freaking great. I liked seeing his development, his whole
Funny
character growth.
enough, he was in like the top 10 charts from Japanese male protagonists when
Oh,
it was first airing. Like he was at the top for a good hot minute.
yeah. And like I wanted more. If anything, I want more of the home dude that constantly getting cloned or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Um,
So that they aren't clones.
no, well, not clone, but like they kept making people look like him or whatever.
Yeah,
They were
they
like,
faced off him.
yeah, it was the Lacus Klein thing with the
Yeah.
Mere Campbell situation, basically. Yeah, like they
hmm
kept doing that, and like we didn't really get too much explanation on that, and I was kind of disappointed with that.
So because of my prior experience, I immediately understood because that's which of Mercury's cyber new types. Except
Okay.
for some reason, instead of just fucking with their brain, they decided to facelift and make them look like this one dude the entire time. Because I guess he's a figurehead and he has to like win duels in order to get more standing with people.
I mean, he's hot, so I don't blame him, but you know,
The
still weird.
biggest thing, the biggest thing with which from Mercury for me is now I have PTSD when I hear the Happy Birthday song.
Oh my god.
You hear Happy Birthday and it's like, oh my god, who's dying?
Oh my god. I actually kind of forgot about that because my trauma is with the replay of their commercial that they made.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's also pretty bad.
I watched this in dub, but so I don't know how it is in the subtitle,
The
but
subtitle's a lot better.
okay, but I probably a lot better because you can't actually understand the cringe that is happening on that screen. Because I
It's
feel like the lyrics to that are still just.
now you got me curious. I'm gonna look it up really quickly. What the English dub of that sounds like.
Yeah, it was uh secondhand embarrassment. I go strong, but I I mean I guess that's another good thing about Gundam series for me is like they're almost always dubbed, and I'm a big advocate for being able to watch things dubbed because if there's a dub of it, I'm more likely to prioritize it.
Oh, okay. I already hate Mjolnir's voice in the dub. All
um,
right.
they have one of my favorite like new age voice actors in Witch from Mercury. So well, I guess I can't really call him new age because he's been doing voice acting since he was a kid, but like he's more in it now, I guess.
Hmm.
The original voice for Alphonse Elric and Hero from Fruits Basket, he's like actually a child voice actor back then, and he got out of it, got back in. I am blanking on his name so hard right now.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, he has a voice in it, and like he voices hot dude that gets cloned multiple times, not
Okay.
cloned, but cloned. Um, I'm gonna forever call it that. I know that's not what it is.
Oh,
Um,
it's so bad.
yeah, but he's probably one of my favorite voice actors currently in like the current gen because he's been doing ADR direction and voice acting a lot lately. So
Like, I don't like Mjolnir's like voice for her in the dub. It doesn't sound like it fits. But Soletta's actually doesn't sound that bad in an English dub.
yeah,
If anything, it's not as it's not as cringe commercial wise when they're singing it. It's just the lyrics that they chose are absolutely ass.
yeah,
Um, so this is like with the build series too. I can't watch Witch of Mercury dub because the voice acting is such a high contrast and they don't really match their characters. Gundam Build Fighters also has that problem with me.
see,
I watched the sub of that, love the voice. They did perfect voice casting for them, and then I listened to the dub, and it's like I just want to punch Say and Reiji in the face as hard as humanly possible repeatedly.
yeah, I feel like that's just like especially if you've watched the series originally in Japanese, I feel like
Hmm.
you already have a bar of what you think this character sounds like. So I think if you were have
Yeah,
watched it originally in the dub, you wouldn't have that issue. Because I didn't personally have an issue. Like I'll admit there are some bad voice choices that happen in dubs. Um, I'll still power through them for the most part, but I don't remember them being any in Witch from Mercury per se that stood out to me. Uh,
yeah,
but I'm also again like I prioritize dubs over everything, and I'm far more dub heavy than most people.
that's
So
understandable,
I'm
honestly.
yeah, so I'm very accustomed to like what English voices sound like doing these characters at this point.
So this is kind of why I like the Universal Century timeline a lot. The original Gundam, 8th MS Team, Zeta Gundam, Stardust Memory, they when I watched the subtitle and the dubs, they chose their VA so well that there are sometimes I can't tell the difference between the two voices. I just think they're the same person with a different vocal tone.
Mm-hmm.
Because Amuro's VA, Char's VA on both sub and dub sound really fucking close to each other.
I
Same goes for
also
with like Zeta Gundam. Camille's VAs also have that same
in
thing going on too.
I didn't realize there were so many timelines because I always thought there was only two timelines.
Hmm.
But the from the image you showed me, there's like one, two, three, four, five, and then these random
Yeah.
branches.
So the way this timeline works is the Universal Century, of course, is the main timeline, and towards the bottom, you can see that it delves off into Turn A Gundam. It also kind of goes into the RC, which is G Reconquista. Um,
Okay.
so at the end of all timelines, it kind of pulls a Legend of Zelda,
Okay.
and all the timelines somehow connect to Turn A Gundam because it's like a conjoinment of all the different timelines into one universe.
Interesting. So it all leads back to
Which
cross dressing.
basically yes. So all the little lines. So Gundam Wing also delves into Turn A. Gundam X also goes into Turn A. Recog and UC timeline all go into Recon or into Turn A. Even G Gundam. Funny enough.
Yeah, like I was looking at that, like G Gundam's kind of like right there, smack in the middle.
Yeah. The only series that don't go into Turn A's universe apparently is the Gundam Build series, Seed, Double O, Age, Orphans, and Witch. They are all their unique universes. They don't delve into the Turn A timeline.
That's interesting because that means like Bandai is really. It almost feels like they kind of started abandoning the main timeline a bit because most of the ones that are on their individual timelines are a lot of the newer ones, right?
Yes. So this is the thing with Bandai. Bandai doesn't give two shits about continuity. They don't
Bandai
give two
doesn't
shits
give two
about
shits about a lot of things.
they don't give two shits about any of this. The only thing that they cared about for Gundam was what saved Gundam in the first place, and that's the toy sales. That is all they care about.
Yet they still don't want to branch out to the US to get more monopoly on toy
Yep.
sales.
They have only recently, within the past 5 years, started actually doing more to bring stuff overseas to us.
Yep.
This year, we are getting probably one of the first English dubbed Gundam games that we have gotten in fucking years, probably 10 plus years.
You know
Gundam
what's
Breaker 4 is going to be one of the first dubbed games we've gotten since like PS3, PS2 era.
Can we get that love for Digimon now?
I wish. I honestly wish
uh,
because this is a good sign that they're starting to acknowledge that they have fans overseas and they're starting to give us more stuff. They need to do that with their other franchises too.
I will buy this Gundam game even if I never play it just to show them like, hey, I will buy your stuff. Bring it over here. Please branch out with other uh continuities that you own. Words are hard,
So
but
that's a good thing too. Gundam Breaker 4
mm-hmm.
is actually going to give more light to the series in general and get new fans and old fans in here. So Bandai's going to see a massive spike in interest because they're not basing this off of the shit game that was New Gundam Breaker. They're basing it off of Gundam Breaker 3, which the fan base loves that. We still play that game adamantly to this day because it is the last good Gundam game we got from Bandai.
Okay. I'm gonna have to
So
look. I
there's a
have a
lot of
Gundam
hype
game.
behind it.
I have a Gundam game. I'm gonna have to see which one it is. It's an older one.
Hmm.
Like PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2 Gundam game that I need to check
It,
into.
it might actually be the fighting game.
I don't remember.
Gundam Battle Assault, I think.
I struggled playing it because I don't think it's translated.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, you might got one of the good rare ones.
I got it from an anime convention forever ago, and I've tried playing it so many times because I couldn't figure out what to do. Like, because it's not translated.
But yeah, honestly, that comes out later this year.
Nice.
Um, you're gonna see a lot of fucking people playing it. Even people who aren't really big Gundam fans are probably gonna start playing it on streams because it'll be co-op.
Ooh.
Um, you have the amount of customization you can do in it is probably the best customization we've gotten in a game in a very, very, very long time.
So potential collab possibilities between you and I if I buy this game.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Bet.
very, very high because I'm going to be playing it a lot.
Also, another note to like show that Bandai is branching out to the U.S. market. Do you know they sell Gunpla now at Hobby Lobby?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
They sell them at Hobby Lobby. They even sold them at Walmart a couple times here and there when they
see,
had stock.
Walmart I can understand because Walmart's very big on like getting international stuff sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Because Walmart was one of the first places to also get the V pets, the Digimon V pets,
Yeah.
and they've also almost always carried any kind of Digivices, even if it's not at all locations, but some locations will have it. But so I could see them having Gunpla, but for Hobby Lobby, which is very much an American company and very much prides itself on kind of only selling American made merchandise, the fact that they had Gunpla blew me away. It's on the model kit thing where it's all like these American
Mm-hmm.
made cars, model kits, and then there's just a section for Gunpla. And I'm like, this
So the
is
one I'm
weird.
at, the one I've got over here, they typically have at least 20 different Gunpla kits. They even this is what surprised me because I wasn't expecting this when I checked the other sections of it.
Mhm.
They actually have the Gundam paint markers and God hand nippers too.
Yep.
That typically aren't sold at Hobby Lobbies.
Yeah. Like, because I worked at one temporarily during this holiday season, and yeah, that I worked in one of the biggest ones in my city. Um, Not the biggest store, but I think it was like the second or third biggest Hobby Lobby in my
Mhm.
city, and their model kit aisle was freaking huge, and it had so many things that I know. I had friends that were do model kits, and they have always been like, I'm so sick of having to reorder things off online because I can't find this anywhere, and I'm like taking a picture, sending it to them, and I'm like, where the fuck is this? And I'm sending the location because it's wild that we're getting that now because
Yep.
for years we haven't. Like the only way I remember seeing Gunpla models or any kind of Gundam merchandise before was anime conventions or online sales, I
So
guess. But
that started happening about 10 years ago. That's when they started slowly bringing them overseas to Hobby
mhm.
Lobby and shit.
Okay,
Um, Most of the time you would have to go to like card shops or you would
well, yeah,
have to
that
go
too.
to like hardcore hobby stores like that just have model kits out the wazoo. They
Yeah.
would have Gunpla kits even. They would have ones that other stores don't even have. They would actually import their kits from Japan just
Mm-hmm.
to sell them to people who want to build them. And
I,
it's gotten a lot more like it's gotten a lot easier to get them now because Bandai is finally starting to take that chokehold off of everything. They're starting to let other stores import and sell the kits.
thank fucking god for that. Like, can they just like do go full like fist in with this and just give us everything? Like,
I I really wish they would more so now because this I think this is also stemming from the build series too, because around the time the original build fighters came out is when this started really starting to boom.
Hmm.
They already, I think, around the start of build divers, they started actually making a thing to scan your gunpla and put it in a game. They are still working on that technology now, and they did a recent beta on it where you could actually fight with your actual gunpla.
Oh, that's cool.
And they're refining it. They haven't given up on it yet. They see that this could be a potential like thing for hobbyers to bring their stuff to life and actually fight alongside it and everything. It's still super rough, but the fact that they can actually do that with scanning technology,
Right. Which I get, it makes
like,
sense that they would have that kind of technology because we've had like with the, I guess, Digimon side of things, the Vital bracelets have the technology to, you can go into, say, any Walmart or grocery store that has a card tap reader,
yeah.
and you can tap your watch on there, and you can get like Digimon the battle inside them, and they have a decent amount of tech they can use for smaller devices, and it makes sense that they would be able to do something like that. Um, I guess the hardest part would be the individual components for a Gundam model. I guess I'm not sure how detailed it is until like you make the model and then you can scan it in. Is it just like a pre-made model, or like how much can you customize it, and how much does it read the
So
customization?
so from what they did in the very first announcement of it, they did just normal Gramps. They did normal Gramps, high grade model,
Okay.
scanned him in there. Super rough polygons and shit, but they managed to get a full scan of him and it looked halfway decent.
Okay.
I think last year, or it might have been the year before that, they did a updated announcement for it and they had somebody bring in their full custom Gunpla. Like it was a full 100% custom, looked really good. They scanned it one for one. It made the model. It was still rough polygon wise, but it was able to perfectly replicate that Gunpla.
That's that's amazing actually. I like for Gundam in general, but like imagine taking that further, because if
Hmm.
they're able to perfect this, there are so many other markets they'd be able to use that too as well. They can make so much money off of it, because if they make it, they get essentially the it's not copyright, the trademark on it. No, not trademark.
Hmm.
What's the patent? The patent on it.
Patent, yeah, patent.
Which means any other company that wants to utilize this same technology, they make money off of it. And there are so many
Yeah.
anime fandoms that are going to be like, hey, we want this. We want our favorite anime waifu in our game.
And that's the thing I think Bandai's wanting to go. They're wanting to use the Gunpla side of this to start it, and then start making more model kits for different anime series. Like they already make anime model kits for Digimon and One Piece and everything. It, so it wouldn't surprise me if they did this and then later on made branching ones, like say they did a special fighting version for Dragon Ball, or they did a special version for Digimon. Like you scan your Black War Greymon and somebody scans their Magna Angemon and they can actually fight in like a fighting game system.
Imagine taking that further, because like, okay, we're not there yet with Digimon Conflict, but
Yeah.
you remember the Dark Emperor's creation of the Chimeramon?
Hmm.
Imagine if we could make our own Chimeramons with our model kits of Digimon.
And that's the beautiful thing with Gunpla builders too. You could actually do that because people already have those kind of ideas. And the
Mhm.
Digimon model kits, I've already seen people custom those things.
Oh man.
I've seen custom War Greymons, I've seen custom Machine Dramons and shit that have like fuck, there's some that incorporated Gundam weapons onto Machine Dramon. That thing looks like a fucking menace.
Oh, that sounds cool as fuck though.
Like there's so much potential you could do with a system like that, which is why I absolutely love the build series. It paved the way for this to become a reality.
Right. Oh man, I like they did the whole announcement for like the model kits that are coming out for the 25th anniversary of Digimon. And I've done model kits before. I've done a couple. I have 3 finished Gundam models that I've done, and I have 2 that I
Hmm.
haven't done. Um, and they're a lot of fun. Like if
They're
anyone
good
likes hobby
fun
stuff,
things.
they are so much fun. I love doing them. I
And I'll
want the
say
Digimon
this too,
ones.
as an avid builder,
Hmm.
you do not need to know Japanese at all to read the instructions. Everything is precise and clear instructions to where you can build these kits if you are a beginner.
Yeah, I think the most intimidating thing people have, because there's 2 type of kits, and I don't necessarily know the difference between the two on why they're like this or what branding it is. But there are kits that you buy that are already colored and painted, and then there's the ones that are fully grayscaled and you have to paint them yourself.
Hmm.
And I think people don't realize there are colored kits where you can buy them previously colored because so many people are intimidated on having to paint them themselves and do all the tiny
Yeah.
little painting parts, which I get. One of my kits I did have to paint myself. It was probably the longest kit building one I did. The other 2 are already painted, already colored, and those are so much easier to do. So
Like that's another reason why I like the amount of thought process Bandai took for the Gunpla kits. They actually make like simple paint markers that you can do like straight on paint builds.
yep.
Like right now, I'm working on a master grade Curios Gundam from Double O.
Ooh.
I've been building that for months, but every orange piece on it, I've been making blue with the Gundam markers, and it looks like it was naturally blue to begin with.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, my the one that I have that isn't painted is the Justice from Gundam Seed.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh and I struggled. Like I got paint for it cuz I didn't end up buying that one. That one was one I won in a contest at a convention, and I was like eventually I'm going to put it together, and I'm like painting it
Oh.
with actual paints. Like I have a friend of mine, my tattoo artist actually does Gunpla models, um, and he gave me some of the things that he uses to kind of hold the pieces up. His little clips that he uses to hold them while they dry and stuff. Um, but I had to buy my own paints, and
So that might not have been a paint yourself kit. Um, because the thing, this is another thing with Seed that was unique to the series.
mhm.
Their armor doesn't activate by default. It has to be activated, and then they actually get their color schemes. They're normally grayscale
Yeah, no,
at first.
this was still like the actual paint yourself one.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I know that they actually made model kits of deactivated versions
Hmm.
of them. So you might have gotten a special kit for that.
No, I have one of those. Oh my god, I'm blanking. The Buster Gundam.
Okay,
The
the green one.
yeah, the basically the heavy arms one, I guess, version of it. Uh,
Yeah,
one of the
it kind
3
of looks like
stolen
a
models.
kind of looks like a grasshopper.
Yes. So I have the grayscaled version of that one that's not supposed to be painted.
Okay.
Because the big difference between those is like there's still some detail on it. Um, because the ones that are painted, at least looking at the parts from when I did it, are it's fully grayed out, or like it's all one matte color essentially when you
Okay.
paint it. Whereas the ones that are the deactivated, they still have like a little bit of details and like lines and stuff on them. So,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
because yeah, the 3 that I have built are the Justice, the Freedom, and the Buster Gundam.
Okay.
All of my model kits are Gundam Seed model kits.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. If you like a particular series for their suits and everything, then go ham with it.
It's not even
You'll
that.
have
I got 2 of
so
them
many.
as a prize, and then I was like, I just want the whole set. So I just bought. I wanted to make sure I had like all one series because I would love to
Yeah.
have some Double O ones. Um, I love Dynamis and
Okay. Yeah.
Nodley. Like I would love to have model kits of those. Um,
So funny enough, they do have kits of like those suits, but they've done recent updates to the Double O kits, so they're more stable now. Um, My thing was I bought a lot of the Double O kits because that was my favorite series. That's the one I started out with, and my
Mm-hmm.
first high grade that I built was the Double O Riser.
Nice, nice.
I will not pull my punches. It is probably the worst kit I ever put together because everything on it was so loose that if I accidentally tapped it once, its V fin would fall off, its
Oh
hand
no.
plates would pop off, the pelvis and the connecting joints to the hips and everything would all break off. I don't know if it was just that particular model or if it was like a whole bunch of them were bad because a lot of Gunpla have really good ones, and then there's one Gunpla like, for instance, the Tristan Gundam from Twilight Axis. Its Gunpla kit is notoriously shit.
Right.
Like the Double Oaks kits, I've had that problem with them on a majority of them. I've built the Double O. I've built an Exia Repair 2. The Exia Repair 2 also had that problem with certain parts being really shittily made. I'm currently making a real grade metal build Exia right now. It's holding up great. It's one of the newer kits that's been updated, so it actually is holding together really well.
Okay. Yeah, I would love to get my hands on them because like those as far as model designs go, I think that Double O has some of my favorites next to G Gundam. Um, I am probably going to die trying to find G Gundam model kits. So, uh, I haven't even
Funny
attempted
enough,
to look.
after this anniversary and they released a Blu-ray, you might see more G Gundam kits being made.
True.
Um, I know recently they redid the God Gundam and the Master Gundam. They have new versions of them, I
Yeah,
believe.
but those aren't the ones I want.
I know.
I
Um,
I like
but
of any of
that's
them.
the good thing.
Yeah.
With the new anniversary, they're going to redo a lot of their kits because they want to make as much money off the anniversary release of the G Gundam Blu-rays as
That's
much as
fair.
possible. And the best way to do it is to do kits.
See, if I wanted to like a main Gundam from G Gundam, it would probably be the Dragon. But like my favorite Gundam designs in that are probably some of the most ridiculous ones, like the Holland Gundam that doubles
Oh
as
yeah, the
being a
windmill.
windmill.
Yeah, the windmill Gundam. Yeah,
Freaking
that's a good
Mermaid
one.
Gundam, um, Tequila Gundam. I want.
So, from what I remember, I'm pretty sure they're going to start. At least that was in the rumor mill from the Gundam Twitter sphere not too long ago that they're going to revamp all the like Shuffle Alliance suits, and then they might go for the other suits in G
Okay.
Gundam because they haven't done any since fuck probably 10, 15 years,
Mm-hmm.
because G Gundam just never really hit that popularity spike. But because of like build fighters and everything, I think because they're seeing more martial arts stuff get seeped into it, G Gundam's getting watched more. So that might be another reason why they did the Blu-ray update as well.
Okay. Be curious to see where that goes. Like I'm still like really excited for that game to come out because if we're getting a dubbed
Yeah,
game from Bandai of all things. Uh,
yeah,
that
I
isn't
was
Dragon
actually
Ball Z.
surprised. An English dubbed, like dubbed Gundam games are so few and far between. The last one I played that actual had dubbing VAs
Mhm.
was like Journey to Jaboro on the PS2.
Okay.
That that
God, that was
that's
so long
been
ago.
Yeah, it's a long time ago. I have not played one in English in so long.
Hmm. My
Not to
God.
mention that I'm not kidding when I'm saying like the amount of customizability you get in this game. You can literally have master grade arms on a high grade Gunpla kit.
Ooh.
You can make it asymmetrical too. You can have different arms on each side. You can have different legs on each side. Have different armaments on each arm and leg and everything. Like they really pulled out all the stops to make it to where you could customize it how you see fit.
I just really have the drive to make an abomination now.
I mean, I'm
I
not gonna
want to
lie,
so bad.
the trailer on Steam has abominations being made.
Oh my god.
And they recently did an open beta for Gundam Breaker 4, and a lot of the Gundam creators made some of the most cursed fucking things ever.
Oh lord. I look forward to seeing the chaos this brings. It's gonna be so much fucking fun.
They're gonna do a good job of fuck, and then I'm remembering the Netflix thing that's coming out soon. That's gonna make everybody's eyes bleed.
Which one?
Gundam Requiem of Vengeance.
I feel like I've heard
Um,
about that.
don't it's good to see more Xeon like based stuff. The Zaku looks fine, but the Gundam looks like hot ass. It's like
I
they took the Easy 8 from the 8th MS team and just made it uglier.
oh my god.
There's the Gundam universe or the actual kit for it.
Okay. Yeah. The minute you said Netflix, though, I was like, yeah, it's gonna be bad. Netflix hasn't really succeeded on doing anything good with anime, in my opinion. So I'm
Yeah.
like One Piece being the exception of like a live action, but uh, there's not a Netflix original anime that I've actually enjoyed yet. So
That's fair. Oh yeah. Here's one of the monstrosities.
oh boy.
So they put it looks like a master grade Zaku's arm and a master
God.
grade Gundam's
Oh
arms
my
plus
god.
nickel pods, and those are ship slayer swords on its back. Its head's not even a fucking
I
attached.
see that.
I'm not
Oh
kidding. When you can make some of the most cursed abominations known to man in this game, I'm looking forward to it because I want to see my friends come in with these weird ass obtuse fucking suits.
no. Oh my god. Lord.
I know,
Yeah.
like it looks fucking amazing. I'm excited to play it.
Oh, it's gonna be so much fun, man. Like I'll take any game that allows me to do a collab with, but I want more anime games in general that are um actually fun to begin with,
Mm-hmm.
because typically the only decent anime games that come out are fighter games anyway, and they're generally Dragon Ball Z
Ass.
or Naruto, and those are extremely hit or miss, mostly miss.
Yeah, it's mostly missed because one, it's the same company making it,
Mm-hmm.
Bandai, and most of the time they're arena fighters and they're team-based arena fighters, and it's like you can't make this work. There are very few instances where you can make an anime fighting game and it be actually unique.
Well, like it's not even about it being unique as much as it's like having to you can't power scale it properly, because if you want to make it canon power scaled, there's going to
Yeah.
be at least one or two characters that are just going to wipe the entire squad. Whereas if you don't make it canon power scaled, people are going to complain like, "Oh, this character should not be losing." Like, Goku should not be losing to Yamcha. That can't happen, kind of thing. Um, and then, or they have the issue of they can't incorporate properly a ranged fighter versus a non-ranged fighter and make it balanced, because that was a huge issue in a lot of the Naruto games where you get a ranged fighter in there, you get Deidara or anything that can shoot projectiles and do them well, that isn't just the
Hmm.
stereotypical kunai, you dominate, because if you throw Deidara against Neji, Neji can't do anything unless he gets in your face, and Deidara prevents you from getting in his face. You're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can get
Um.
away with like I'm okay with not being unique if you can make a fun game, even if it's just a copy pasta of the or copy paste of the same thing.
So the idea, like what Jump Force had,
Mm-hmm.
was good. The J Stars Victory games were actually pretty fun to
Right.
play because you had all the different Shonen Jump characters fighting amongst themselves, and they were all pretty much balanced. It's just that when they started making them into like this team-based stuff and tried to do all this stupid flashy gimmicks and took the fun out of the game
Mm-hmm.
by just trying to keep it nice, keep it simple, make sure your netcode's not bad, people are going to play it for fucking years. because
Right.
all their favorite anime characters are there. If it gets DLC characters, you have more fan bases from different continuities coming through. It's like it's hard to fuck that up, but like like in good old fashioned Bandai Namco like logic, they managed to fuck it up by making it an arena fighter.
Right. Uh
And this is another thing I want. I give credit to Dragon Ball for. I will give credit to Dragon Ball for this. Dragon Ball Fighters is probably one of the better anime fighting games I've played.
Dragon Ball has had some really good fighting games.
They have.
They've had some really bad ones too, but they've had the most
Hmm.
consistent on like having decent fighting games, and I think they have dominated the market on that. But considering how many Dragon Ball Fighter games they have come out with, I would hope they at least have a few bangers. Because I think the first really good one was Budokai Tenkaichi 3,
Hmm.
um, which PlayStation 2, I think.
Yeah, it
Um,
was.
yeah, so like they every now and then they pop out a good banger that is a very decent fighter game. It's just
Which,
how many times can you play a Dragon Ball Z fighter game?
yeah, like I liked fighters, and I might pick up Sparking Zero because it is another Budokai Tenkaichi, which which it might be really good. From what I've seen so far, it looks really good, but you can only play Dragon Ball so much before it gets old.
Right.
I do love the series. I
Oh,
do
likewise.
love like Akira's like anime. I loved it so much.
Rest in peace,
I
by the
will
way, because this is
never,
definitely
yeah,
after that. But
I will never shit on it unless it's like something stupid in the anime.
I
Like
just shit on the fan base.
yeah, the fan base.
Yeah.
The fan base is definitely a bunch of fucking trolls,
Yeah.
and all the fan bases have those. Like you even
Yeah.
dealt with the Gundam fan bases, bad eggs.
Uh, Dragon Ball Z is like, there's a reason it took off so well, not just in America, but like everywhere. Like, I think Mexico even had their flags at half staff for
Hmm.
Toyama's death. Like, it impacted animation worldwide. And it's not just because, like, oh, it's the first anime or something, it was the first thing unique. Like, no, it did something unique even among anime. Like, it's the one that started
Yeah.
the entire shonen trend. Like, we wouldn't have Naruto, Bleach, or One Piece, or JJK, My Hero, or Demon Slayer without it, because before
Hmm.
Dragon Ball Z, anime was very different, which wasn't bad. It wasn't that. That wasn't what was popular. Like anime before Dragon Ball Z was not all about the overpowered fights and power up moves and screaming attack names kind of thing. Like it happened, but it wasn't like as
It
prominent.
wasn't as prevalent. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of like other anime, I don't know how much you get this because I know I get it a fucking a lot when people come into my chat and ask me like about anime and stuff. Anytime I bring up Mecha, people will automatically just divert to Gundam. They're just like, oh no, I don't like Gundam series, and like there's so much Mecha out there that isn't Gundam, and it kind of pisses me off because
Yeah.
like I get it, Gundam is the most popular like, and it's a huge franchise, obviously. We just talked almost an hour about it for a reason, but like there's so many mecha shows out there that aren't Gundam, and it's kind of frustrating for me, like that people are immediate like, oh yeah, mecha equals Gundam and only Gundam, or even if it's like not a Gundam series. Because I've seen people refuse to watch like Code Geass because they're like, oh, I don't like Gundams, and I'm like, but it's
Yeah.
not a
So
Gundam.
this is the stereotype that I don't like. One, this comes from like PTSD from my end. People call Gundams Transformers a lot when they have no business being this in the same sentence.
Right.
But the other thing is like like you said, a lot of people when they hear Mecha, they do hear Gundam first because the thing is with Gundam, yes, it's popular, but it's also the first series to go into the real that made the real robot
Right.
series a thing. Toriyama, not Toriyama, God damn it, Tomino. Tomino literally. made the Real Robot series happen with the original Gundam series. That's why a lot of people, when they hear Mecha, they think Gundam first because it's the first real robot type series. Because everything prior to that has been super robot, like Getter Robo, Gal Gaigar, and everything. Like those were all super robot series because all the mechs in those series were sentient or had amazing abilities that like bypass the laws of physics and everything. And it was hard to kind of get into those because it's like you could watch something like that, but it normally wouldn't have a very good cohesive storyline.
Right. I mean, because wouldn't isn't like Super Robo stuff like its demographic is younger than Gundams as well, right?
It varies. It varies depending on the thing. Technically, Neon Genesis Evangelion counts as a super robot
Yeah.
series.
Okay.
Gurren Lagann
Oh,
counts as that as well, and fuck, even Vandred does.
yeah.
Those are all catered to different age group brackets. Like you could watch like some of these younger, but like you're gonna get fucked up.
Right. Well,
Like
also, I'm trying to pull it up because so Evangelion still like it came out after most of those other Super Robo series, so that wouldn't that
mhm.
just be like the what would be considered the deconstruction of the Super Robo series by making it more adult, like they did with Madoka Magica and the magical girl genre?
Yeah, it would kind of fall into that because the way that Evangelion is portrayed, it's mostly the end of everything. So
Mm-hmm.
it would make sense that it would be kind of like an ending to Super Robot style
Yeah.
too. Um, because this is something to this day I fucking love, and I love seeing it in like the Godzilla movie. I think it was Shin Godzilla that the
Mm-hmm.
same creator of Evangelion had a part in or
I
helped
believe
make.
so.
Um, the fact that they went biblical with this and they nailed it so good. It is so this is probably one of the most depressing like fucking animes, and it really rings out because the creator was depressed when he made it.
Mm-hmm.
Like this was his physical manifestation, and you feel that throughout the series. Like it still has that super robot stuff. Like this thing's doing shit that it shouldn't be doing. It's causing world-ending events just by an emotional boy in the cockpit and everything. But it's also like hardcore real because you're also seeing all of this realistic stuff that everybody goes through their daily lives.
Right.
And then you've got, and then the vast contrast is Gurren Lagann because you go from absolute depression spiral of the end to just a fucking kid fighting against literally God and everything else in between.
Oh my god, Gurren Lagann was so fucking good though. Like it's
It really was.
like that is probably the manliest show I have ever watched until I watched, I guess, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. But like,
Hmm.
of course, Gurren Lagann is more enjoyable in my opinion. But yeah, I just there was something special about Gurren Lagann that definitely took over the anime community as well. That
I think it's just its overall spirit of never giving up and pushing forward to make everything work out.
right,
Because the thing with Gurren Lagann, like it knocks you down a peg a lot. Like there's character deaths, there's instances where like people get depressed and they lose their fighting spirit, but then it also pushes that fact to the fold by making them overcome these, and then they become even stronger than they were before.
yeah, and then the fact that it's able to balance that with just being so fucking
Hmm.
goofy because some of these mech designs are just absolutely insane to look
They
at.
are.
And then you have a scorpion lady that just uses her tail to just whip people into submission, and it's some of the Beastman
Like
designs were great.
they got some really cool wacky shit going on. And this is probably Gurren Lagann had the fucking coolest mech designs, some of them, and then they had some of the jankiest one, like the twin monkey that fused together and shit.
Oh
And
my god.
it's like the fucking creator of this just had fun. He just had fun with everything he did about it. The character designs, the mech designs, the storyline. Like he just went ham with his
Oh,
imagination,
he
and
did.
it shows.
I will say one of my favorite things about Gurren Lagann that kind of helped me get invested, because like I was invested when I watched it in the first place, because I first saw it. Um, we were evacuating from a hurricane, and I was just watching the Sci-Fi Channel in the hotel room, and Gurren Lagann was on, and I found my first like super heavy anime crush in an anime in Gurren Lagann. Um, Very telling on who it is, which is probably something I shouldn't
Namina.
admit. Nope.
Oh, really?
Not Kami. um, but I'm a big mythology buff, and I love like different iterations of different types of mythology.
Hmm.
And Viral's uh
Oh, yeah,
his
I can see that.
his machine is called the Enkidu, which is essentially a clay doll that was made to trick and kill Gilgamesh.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I like the way that plays so well with his character, like made me so fucking happy. I just think it's ridiculous that when he gets different variations of his Enkidu, it's Inky Doo Doo, Inky Doo Doo Doo. I'm like, y'all really got to do that.
I do, and I think that didn't the later iterations have multiple arms?
Yes.
Okay, so I think because I don't know if in actual mythology Gilgamesh had multiple arms, but I know in Final Fantasy he normally had multiple arms to carry the various weapons he had, and I don't know if that was a reference to that or if it was still a reference to actual mythology Gilgamesh because I don't actually
So
know too much on it.
it depends on what variation of like of the stories you listen to, because there are some that have him with multiple arms. Um,
Okay,
but like all of them where he just ends up befriending Gilgamesh by the end of it. But
yeah,
yeah,
they
it's
become
a
besties.
yeah. Um, Best enemies to lovers story of all time.
Yeah.
And I love that. Anything that throws a little mythology that I'm already familiar with in there makes me happy. So, and they had a few other situations like that where like a lot of the mech names had kind of a pun to them in a way. Not all of them super obvious to an English audience, obviously. Um,
Yeah.
but
Star King Keaton.
oh my god, I love how they all got mechs that very much just fit their design somehow.
Yeah.
Uh, what else?
Aside from like, okay, so this is another thing about the Mecha series that I like,
Mhm.
and it also stems from my love of Gundam too. I love series like Cross Ange, Code Geass, and Vandred, where they kind of take an existing concept of like either magic, supernatural abilities, or a type of different lore
Mhm.
and just run with it. It really makes a cohesive backstory for everything.
Right.
Like
God,
with Code Geass, I love the perfect symmetry fusion they have with the special abilities of the Geass, the immortal Geass
mhm.
masters, I guess they were. I don't know if they actually had a terminology for like Charles and C2 for what they ended up being. Um, but I liked how they perfectly incorporated those aspects, but kept the real robot and political conflicts of the series and meshed it all perfectly together.
Right. You brought up Vandred, and you reminded me of something that I did want to talk to you about at some point. Because I
Hmm.
every time you brought up Vandred with me, I always think of this because Vandred's one of those series. For anyone that hasn't watched, it's men and women live on separate planets, and then
Hmm.
some men end up upon a women's ship, and they find out that their mechs that they've been battling with for years actually fuse perfectly together, as if it was meant to be, and they become stronger and whatever. And it's It's great, super fan servicey. Um, I love it. Um, but there's another series that I watched actually before Vandred that is
Okay.
almost a similar concept. Aside from like instead of the men and women at war, they're kind of fighting these angelic beings. So it's like it's Vandred meets Evangelion. It's called
Okay.
Aquarion.
Oh yeah, yeah, Aquarion. Okay, yeah, I've heard that one. I haven't
So
actually gotten to sit down and watched it all.
it's so good because they're fighting against these angel creatures. Like there's a whole. I'm not gonna like go into the full lore of it, but
Yeah.
they each there's three mechs that fuse together, and depending on like what order they fuse together gives them different abilities. Um, but the three pilots for each of the mech apparently when they fuse it feels really good. Um,
Hmm.
and it's slightly concerning because the main female really wants to fuse with her brother.
Oh God.
Yeah, there's multiple pilots for each of the like components that they shuffle out through. It's like there's I think two for each, so there's six pilots altogether, and depending on who they have in, also depends on like what kind of powers it gets and whatever. It's very fun. It's very post-apocalyptic. Um, Still gets your fan servicey in there a little bit. Depending on how well the chemistry is, depends on how good it feels when they fuse. And then there's a whole lore between like the main dude who shows up who hasn't been trained to pilot these mechs, but ends up in one. But he apparently has ties with a past life of the whole Shadow Angel War and stuff, and like it's past life stuff, and very very interesting, very reminiscent of Vandred
Yeah.
transformations. Considering the transformations of Vandred just ends up with the girl in the guy's lap every time.
In different variations. You've got the vanilla, she's sitting on his lap from the front.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the other ones, like he's on her lap. It's like, oh, okay. And then the side by side.
Yo, which each very fitting for their personalities of each one.
Oh
So.
yeah, definitely. Um, but the thing with Vandred, the reason I like it so much is because it was one of the first mecha animes I watched that wasn't Gundam.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I really liked the story concept of it. I liked that they lived on different planets. I liked the CG animation of the battles, and I liked how well the characters bounced off of each other. Yeah, it was fan servicey as fuck and campy, but it was also it was good for what it was.
Right.
And I like how the ending for it comes in and kind of bitch slaps you in the face because you wasn't expecting like that to be the ending of it. It's like, huh, so that's who the bad guys are. Fuck.
Yeah. I mean, it worked.
It did work.
It
Like
worked.
I actually and I enjoyed it very much for what it was. And
Yeah.
I adore the characters to death. Like the characters that they made grew on me. Some of them are annoying as hell, Dita. But like a majority of the characters, I love them all. Like they did a good job fleshing out everybody.
They really did. Like I'm a sucker for a good ecchi series, and I'm when I say a good ecchi series, I mean it's actually good. Um,
Hmm.
and Vandred's like it has all the ecchi elements that I want out of a series with the good characters and the good story, and like so I feel like I'm not just watching vanilla porn. I feel like
Yeah.
I'm actually watching an anime. So,
Which leads me to bring up Cross Edge.
oh boy.
um, this was also another one that I liked. I liked the art style behind it, so I was like, "Fuck it, I'll give it a shot." And then like the whole thing with them actually using magic for their everyday life, and then they view non-magic people as outcasts and throw them to prison, which was like fucking scarily hilarious to me.
Hmm.
But the fact that a lot of the suit designs are based off of Gundam Seed.
Are you serious? Oh no.
Yeah, so the Vilkis is based off of the Freedom Gundam.
I don't like
And
that name. Something
yeah,
about it makes me uncomfortable.
the Vilkis, I'm assuming they're trying to make it sound like a Valkyrie type because it does have a Valkyrie as its figure piece head.
Okay.
Um,
That is not what comes to my mind when I hear the word Vilcus, but
yeah.
sure.
So a lot of this is like the princess of the country didn't have magic, so they threw her in jail, and she's just trying to go back home. But she ends up kind of getting along with the prisoners on the island and makes them her actual family, since her real family was a bunch of cunts and just threw her to the wolves. In which place, like, they're fighting dragons constantly. There's no real rhyme or reason at first why they're fighting the dragons. It's just like dragons appear every so often, and this is the last line of defense, and you're fighting dragons without even knowing what the fuck's going on in mechs. And it's just one of those really weird like plot points, but it's actually a little bit compelling when it gets deeper into it. And it's etchy as fuck. There's lewd stuff happening all over the place, but it's not on the forefront.
Right. Interesting.
Um, I the funny thing is, it's like it's one of those animes that I probably wouldn't watch too often, but I go back and watch it as a guilty pleasure because it's actually pretty damn good in places.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that, and I love this to this day, her main love interest has a extremely bad habit of going straight for her cooch.
Oh no.
Anytime he gets blown up, beat up, even by her, he magically ends up in her crotch, and it causes like friction between the female love interests. And it's hilarious how everybody's like upset that he's doing this, but it's not even his fault. It's just unfortunate happenstance. and I and it becomes a plot point later on that fucking shivs the main evil villain because he's also got a thing for Ange, and just knowing that this dude's like, I went all the way with her, and he gets so fucking pissed off that he makes mistakes and gets his ass whooped.
Oh my god. You're
I love it.
I hate it simply because it's it reminded me of another series, and I'm trying to remember what the name of it is. The short OVA, I think OVA series. Um, very etchy, not mecha at all, by the way. But
Yeah.
uh, the main female who has a thing for the main dude. Every time she greets him, she goes to tackle him with her cooch in his face. Um, oh my god, it is one of those cursed etchy series that should not exist because it also like, there's a aching club. That's what it's called.
Okay.
Yeah, so like the leader of the club, she very much loves eating bananas. The banana peels lead to a lot of slips that happen. There's an entire arc where they go down a yogurt slide in pairs. Um,
Okay.
and there is a small child that has triple G cups, and
Oh my
her
god.
cups are so big that when she grates ginger for when they're eating noodles, she has to run to bounce her boobs to bounce her arms to grate the ginger.
Oh my god. And I sent you two of the suits from Cross End so you can see where the seed
Oh yeah.
references are.
Okay. Yeah.
like like the first one's the Vilcus, and then the other one is what is this thing's
I should
called?
not be surprised if the Velkus is white.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, the other one's called the Inryogo, which I don't care for that name at all, but it definitely looks like the Justice Gun a
Right.
little bit when it's definitely
Oh my
got the
god.
theme of it. It's kind
Yeah.
of a mix between the Justice and the Aegis.
Yeah. The second one definitely looks more like the Aegis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like they heavily reference the suits to look like seed suits, so
Okay.
like it's a good series. Like if you want a just a fun little like anime with etchy bits in it, like Cross Ange is really fucking good.
Yeah. I'd be willing to give it a shot because it's
I
the
don't think it's
last
that long either.
last mecha series I guess I watched was 86, and it's been a well, oh, it's not hasn't been, but however long it's been since Witch from Mercury came out, I guess. As well.
About a year and a half, I think.
Yeah, so I guess 86 and Witch from Mercury came out around the same time, but before that, It- Iron-Blooded Orphans, and then
Yeah. So, Witch from Mercury was the most recent one. Then it was
86
what?
came out in 21,
Okay.
which I watched
I was gonna
86
say.
very recently though. I didn't watch it like when it came out. I watched it when the second season was done, and like I think I actually watched Ed and Witch from Mercury at the same time. I think I was watching them both.
Okay.
Um,
So with Cross Edge, it's only 25 episodes, so it's
oh,
just
that's easy.
it's pretty easy to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
New anime fans be like, it's too long. What do you mean it's more than
Bitch,
12
please.
episodes?
I sat here and watched fucking Naruto, Bleach, and Dragon Ball on a weekly basis for their entire runtime.
Right.
You
Uh,
don't know what long is.
you don't. As someone who is currently up to date with One Piece.
Oh God, that's a different kind of torture.
Yep. Um, so since we both kind of grew up in the Toonami age as well, like when you said Vandred was kind of your first non-Gundam mecha, because
Hmm.
there's like three other mechas I remember from the Toonami age that I never hear anybody talk about, and I'm curious if you've heard of any of them.
Shoot them. I'll probably have
Um,
heard about.
so one of them, like, I think it's going to be a kind of a loose Gundam or loose mecha thing because
It.
it's mecha and racing. It's called IGPX.
Yep, I watched it.
Okay, yeah, that one
That was pretty
aired.
good. That
Yeah,
was pretty good.
it was a kind of like a fever dream because like I watched it and then nobody ever knew what I was talking about when I talked about it, and I was like, it came on Toonami. I remember it, and they're like, I don't remember that. What do you mean? Anything that isn't Naruto, Cowboy Bebop, or Dragon Ball Z, nobody remembered.
So for me, this one, IGPX made me feel like this is what if they took Initial D and tried to make into a mecha
Yeah,
franchise.
the
And I
designs
liked
for
it.
them are really cool.
Yeah, they had some fucking sick designs for their like mechs.
Mm-hmm.
They did a really really good job designing everything and giving a pretty good backstory to the characters too, because it wasn't a like an ass pull like series story wise. They actually had pretty good explanation on the lore and all the different teams and everything.
Right. Uh, and then the other one. So this was an Adult Swim one. It was called Candidate for Goddess or Pilot for Goddess. Uh, and it's the first time I saw mechs with boobs.
It sounds familiar. Let me see. Let me see the
Uh,
plot.
I don't remember the plot for it at all. I just remember it was my first time seeing a gay couple um, in a
Okay, yeah,
series.
I have seen this, but don't I never really remember its name.
Yeah,
But I definitely remember these characters.
I had to go back and rewatch it because like I didn't remember anything, and I rewatched it and I still don't remember anything. So I imagine it's not that good. But it was also like it aired on Toonami, or not Toonami, Adult
Yeah,
Swim. So like
like
nobody remembers it.
let me read the synopsis for it.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I don't recall this story. I know I've seen it. Like I know these characters pretty damn well. I've seen like the cyan haired girl, the dude with
Mhm.
the cigarette, and the main dude in the front, and the cat girl. I
Yep.
remember seeing them. I don't remember watching a lot of this stuff, so I wonder how many episodes of this.
12 episodes.
That might be why it might have been so short that it's hard to
Right.
keep it
It
keep
is
track of what it
the
was.
size of a normal anime nowadays, but like for back then, there wasn't much to it. I know the manga goes on longer. I have most of the manga. Never read the manga because I don't like reading manga, but I own it.
Huh. I see
And
there's still
then
life force.
the third one, which I don't know if it aired on Toonami or if it aired on like Sci-Fi Channel or something, was called Heroic Age.
That one also sounds familiar.
Man. I've mentioned this one on the podcast before, but it was very much like what was the one we were talking about, Avandrid, where it's different
Hmm.
races that are kind of at odds, but
Okay,
it's
I definitely have not seen this one.
it's one I will suggest aside from Aquarion to you,
Hmm.
because like this is gonna be your Aquarion that isn't, well, not nothing weird, but your Mecha that isn't ecchi, because the story of it was really fucking good. Like the political aspects of it, the main character being like kind of the wild child type, where he's doesn't really know social norms or anything, but he knows how to pilot a
Oh,
mech
it's
because he
only
was raised by a robot. So
okay. It's only 26 episodes here, so that won't be too hard for me to watch.
yeah, it was really good. But it was yeah, he's from like the forgotten fourth race, that can help them in their war or whatever, and
Yeah.
it
That
was
was
so
another
good.
thing too. Like we come from the age where like we didn't also just have Toonami and Adult Swim, we also had anime on G4 as well.
We had G4. There was also MTV2 had an anime block. Sci-Fi Channel had an anime block. Funimation had its own network. Um,
There's another one too. Like there was one in the like movie channels. It wasn't HBO. I think it might have been Cinemax. They
IFC
had an
also,
anime block.
yeah, IFC also had an anime block. And
Mm.
then where I live, there was a all Asian anime channel, or not anime channel, and an all Asian channel called ASEAN. And they showed like Korean dramas, soap operas, music videos, and stuff. Just all and Asian included television basically, but they did have an anime block specifically. Um,
Okay.
and I've talked about that one before because that is how Cyan got introduced to yaoi at a very young age,
Yeah.
but did not realize she was watching yaoi because she was too dense to realize, oh, he just pushed him on the bed. That's weird. I'm still gonna watch it. I have no idea what this means, but I kind of like it.
Huh. I thought that's what a boy and a girl were supposed to do.
Man, I'm going back and watching those two series and be like, man, how did I not realize that this was sexual? It wasn't even about it being like gay, because it was very much just like about it being sexual, and I was just
Yeah,
so dumbfounded by
that's
it
it.
because I'm like, oh, that's uncomfortable. I
I went
understand
back
that.
and watched this and it's like, oh, they're sexing.
Yeah. Um, there was also a movie that I had watched forever on that channel. It's called a Wind Called Amnesia, and it was a really
Hmm.
good movie. I remember watching all of it, and I remember being weirded out by the end because I didn't understand it. Um, Watching back on it now, at the end of the movie, the dude that the main character who's going through this entire world where everyone's forgotten everything, meets up with this alien chick and just starts licking her nipples.
Fuck.
Yep. As a kid, I saw that and I was like, oh, that's not adult, but I don't know what it is, so I'm just gonna keep watching it. As an adult, I'm like, damn, I watched that when I was 14.
Fuck. I mean, I was right there with you. I watched stuff like Three by Three Eyes
Oh my
and
god.
I think it was just called X
Yeah.
at the time.
Did you watch the movie or
Um,
the series?
I believe it was the movie.
Okay, I would suggest if you like the movie to watch the series. Um, it's almost the same thing. Some of the characters are different, but it's like more in depth of what's going on. So, just because I watched the series first, and then when I went to public school, I talked about it to some of my friends that first time meeting people that liked anime, and they were like, "Oh, it's a movie. It's not a series. What are you talking about?" I'm like, "No, it's a series. I own it all." And they're like, "No, it's a movie." So they sat me down and made me watch the movie. I'm like, "Okay, this is just a recap of the series." And they didn't believe me. I'm like, "Come to my freaking house. I have 6 DVDs of the series that exist." So,
Huh. Because, yeah, I only knew it as a movie, too.
yeah, which I found it so this was when I first lived in Houston when I was very young. Uh, right around the corner from our house, we had a VHS store that had a very small DVD corner because DVDs were still new. Um, but it had an anime section. And as soon as I got my brother into DBZ. And
Hmm.
because my brother could do no wrong, my mom was like, oh, if your brother likes DBZ, that means DBZ is okay for you to watch. You can watch this anime stuff. I don't care. So I got away with like buying whatever anime I wanted at the store. Um, and including stuff I shouldn't have been buying when I was buying it at the store. So anytime I saw an anime DVD, I just bought it. And I ended up getting the first DVD to X. I never saw the rest of them, but I got the first DVD to it. And it was years later that I was like, all right, I'm tired of watching these same 4 episodes. Maybe I should buy the rest of them. So I have like the
Oh
first 4
God.
episodes memorized, and then, uh,
4 episodes on a single DVD.
right, it could be worse. Okay, I'm really about to age myself real here. So I have VHS tapes.
Oh, I do too. Don't
Um,
don't worry, I'm right there with you.
my VHS collection consists of Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball GT. Transformers, the OG ones, Sailor Moon, some Yu Yu Hakusho, and the original X-Men series.
Okay.
You realize the X-Men series VHS tapes only have 1 episode on them?
For real? God.
Yep.
Oh God, that's terrible.
Yep. I had them and I've never watched them, but I had them for collector's reasons. I also have Highlander. I like the Highlander animated series on VHS. But that's beside the point. But yeah, I decided like, oh, I'm gonna see like how the quality is on these VHS tapes because sometimes the VHS I wanted to see what trailers they had on it. I wanted to see if they had any bonus stuff after because sometimes they would do that. 1 episode. It's like I feel so cheated. I know I bought this for like $5, but I feel cheated.
Mm.
um, yeah, I refuse to get rid of my VHS collection.
Oh, I'm the same way. I've got a lot of the original Dragon Ball movies and some old anime series I still like have in pretty good condition. I'm just afraid to ever use those VHSs because I don't want a VCR to eat the tapes.
Yeah, well, for me, especially for like the anime ones, because the Dragon Ball Z and GT and Dragon Ball, like the VHS tapes, if you get them all and line them up, they make pictures.
Yeah.
So, and if you get the actual box that they come in, which I have for a few of the seasons, you get the full rounded art all around, all the way around it. Which I think I only have for like 4 or 5 of the arcs altogether. But normally I will have like an entire shelf that is just dedicated to nothing but Dragon Ball Z, and people are like, "Oh, what are those Dragon Ball Z boxes?" I'm like, "Those are VHS tapes," and they're like, "Oh, you're old." I'm like, "Yeah, don't remind me."
Yeah.
Oh, also Digimon, the first movie. I have
Yeah.
VHS
Yeah, I've got that one too.
with
But
its.
funny enough, I was talking about Digimon in general to my friend who she's never seen it, but
Mhm.
she's interested in the designs and everything and the concepts of the story.
Right.
Um, but she didn't know anything about it, so I decided to show her like the dark digivolutions that happens in a lot of series. And funny enough, the movie popped in with Cherubimon.
Oh,
Yeah.
fair. Evil Bunny.
So yeah. So like she saw that firsthand and a bunch of other stuff. Then she actually shot me a few ideas that we could probably use for the podcast at some point too.
Oh, feel free to send those
Um,
my way. I'd be down for it.
yeah, I'll send them to you in a DM here in a second.
But
Uh,
I think I have an idea what we're gonna do for like the layout and stuff on that. So
mhm.
when we get further in, because we're about to start O2 soon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like it's an interesting. It's always interesting to see somebody's like first like reaction to some of this shit that goes on because like a lot of people expect Digimon and Pokemon to be the same kind of shit, where it's just
Right.
oh, it's cutesy animals. That there's nothing dark here, and it's like there's a majority of dark shit that happens in these series, and it's like
Yeah.
oh,
Well,
it's like yeah, it's not what you expected, huh?
that's kind of how Kedja was, because Kedja's like a big Pokemon fan, and we got her in on the podcast, and she's
Hmm.
like, granted, we all have our gripes about it, and I think all our gripes are about the same. I think we all have the same issues with it.
Yeah,
Uh, but yeah, she was not expecting. She wasn't expecting them to talk. She was not expecting them to only have like to go back to their small forum. She was not expecting the trauma that we've dealt with in that series. Granted, I also forgot about half of the trauma that happens in that series. Holy shit.
honestly though, like that's another thing. Like I get a lot with Gundam too. It's like a lot of people expect it to be like all this serious, boring talk because they've watched Wing or something,
Yeah.
and it's like it's really not. Yes, there are politics involved in it, like
Hmm.
you see timelines just full of it, but it's good storytelling on top of like you actually feel a physical bond with everybody who's piloting a mobile suit,
Right. I
be
mean,
it on the good side or the bad side.
if you don't like the slow paced politics of the Gundam series you've watched, you just need to watch one that is less politically heavy and one
Hmm.
that's more story heavy. Because they have, I feel like they fall into three categories. They have the political heavy, they have the story heavy, and then they have the fight heavy ones. And I feel like those kind of, they overlaps and some on some of the others, but like there's always, if you want cool mecha fights, you have that. If you want a cool story between the characters and their development, go watch Seed. If you want to like watch the political aspect of something, I was gonna say Double Low, but I don't know if that was that. I think that's more the cool fight one.
It's more of the middle ground of the two.
Yeah.
Like it has like a lot of politics, but it's not really thrown down your throat. It's more along the lines of a balance of fights and then story development and then more fights.
Right.
Um, which again, if you want to get into the series in general and don't want to do a deep dive, stick with your alternate universe series. Those will get you what you want for the best bang for your buck. If you actually want to delve into the original series, I will make this like a little quick watch order for this.
Mm.
Like if you want to watch the original Universal Century series, go with Origin, OG Gundam, 8th MS Team, War in the Pocket, Stardust Memory, Zeta, Double Zeta, Char's Counterattack, and Unicorn. Those that is the main continuity storyline that you should watch in order. A lot of the other stuff like Thunderbolt, Igloo, Twilight Access, NT and stuff, those are all side stories. You can watch those at your own leisure. But if you want to like do a deep dive into the original series, what made all the different branching paths, that is the best watch order you can watch them on.
What would you say to
Um,
somebody who wanted to like they don't want to do a deep dive, but they do just want to like dip their toes in? Like they want to see if they like Gundam or not.
if you want to see if you like Gundam as a core, you probably want to go with Seed, Double O, and Iron Blooded Orphans as your starting points because those are literally some of the best alternate universe timelines that have good cores to the Gundam franchise from the original UC timeline.
Okay. So you said unicorn, and I can't not bring up the fact of full frontal.
Look, we don't talk about his name. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking with Full Frontal's name. It's like he's a Char clone. Like why couldn't you just name him Char Ansable the second? You had to name him Full Frontal. Like he's literally a cock piece. And he's got. I'm not gonna mince words. I hate his design with a fucking passion because he looks like he's got a scrambled egg wig. I've
Oh man.
seen I've seen Char clones. I've seen Char's like different looks throughout the series, and then I see this motherfucker, and I'm like, the Tomino just absolutely hate you. Just hated Char clones in general, and he decided to just make one that was comedic at the end.
Yes. I
Cause
remember
like,
when that aired, and that was all my friends could talk about was that like they just kept saying his name every time we would like talk about it. I'm like, oh god, I have not watched it simply because they memed it to hell around me.
yeah. Um, I will say though, he's not the craziest Char clone.
Who is?
Design wise, he's the craziest, but Zolan has him beat, which that's from NT, which is following Unicorn.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, we've been going for almost an hour and 40 minutes. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that's a good stopping point. Where can they find you in the meantime?
You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and TikTok under ZetaRedux. I typically do a lot of stuff on Twitch, mostly.
And you'll also catch him on our Digimon Conflict podcast, which will be starting season 2 here soon. So
Yeah.
definitely catch him out there.
Glad to get into that.
Yeah. Um, for anything else relating to the podcast or this one or Digimon Conflict, you can check out our Twitter, BryceCon Podcast, for any updates on episodes or what we're planning if I decide to do any other projects. Please, I don't need to do more projects. You can find me at Cyan Kincaid on Twitch. I stream in the meantime. I have some activity on Twitter, but not a lot. But yeah, thank you for joining me today, Zeta. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I
Until then,
enjoyed it.
yeah. We haven't actually done a good sit down and talk about animes before, so this was definitely much needed. Long overdue.
Yeah.
Alright. Well, I'll catch you and everyone else next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.